The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Humans called it Earth's prototype, a creation meant to show the cleverness of a young, small world. But when it was revealed before the Galactic Council, the crowd could not hold their laughter. They laughed at its uneven limbs, the sparks flying from its joints, and the way it stumbled across the polished floor among the crowd. Noble aliens with tall crowns and glowing eyes whispered insults. How could such a weak species call this a marvel? One of them sneered. Their words were sharp, cutting through the pride of Earth's small delegation. The human engineers tried to defend their creation, but the galaxy had already judged them, and their voices were lost in the laughter. At the center of the exhibition hall, a young human named Kale watched silently. He was not tall, not strong, but his mind was sharp and his hands steady. He had built the prototype with care, and he knew it held secrets that no one else could see. Yet, as the galaxy laughed, he felt a fire ignite inside him, a promise that he would show them. The prototype tried to stand tall again, its metal limbs trembling. Every movement was imperfect, but Kale could see the effort. It was learning, slowly adapting to the motions he had programmed. The spectators laughed louder, mocking each step, calling it useless, calling it fragile, calling Earth itself a weak world. Kale's eyes burned with determination. He whispered to himself, "They do not know what it can become." He knelt beside the prototype, adjusting its arm, fixing a small joint that had loosened. His fingers worked quickly, precise, almost lovingly, even as the galaxy laughed. Kale's mind raced with possibilities. Around him, the laughter grew, booming across the hall. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief, some sneered with amusement, and some whispered rumors. Earth will never rise beyond its star. One said, "This is just a small, pathetic planet." Another added, "The human engineers tried to defend their work, but their words were drowned in the noise." Kale stood back and watched as the prototype slowly raised its head. Its eyes, small glowing lenses, flickered as if noticing the crowd for the first time. For a moment, there was silence, a hesitation among the spectators. They did not expect the machine to respond, to notice, to understand. Kale smiled faintly, knowing the first step had been taken. He remembered the nights spent in the small lab, working by dim lights while the rest of the world slept. He had built this prototype not to impress, but to prepare for challenges that no one else could imagine. And now, in front of the galaxy's most powerful eyes, it was awake, imperfect, and alive. The laughter returned, louder than ever. But Kale did not flinch. He whispered, "One day, they will not laugh. One day, they will see what we have created." The prototype moved again, slowly, carefully, adjusting its stance, its shoulders repaired, joints fixed, its small body ready to rise. The galaxy laughed at Earth's creation, but Kale knew the laughter would not last. A small spark of hope shone in the young human's heart. The prototype had survived the first test, and Kale was ready for the next, for the galaxy might mock Earth now. But the story had just begun. Something greater was stirring, something no one had expected, and Kale was at the center of it. The hall was filled with laughter, whispers, and doubt. Yet, in the corner, a young human smiled quietly, repairing, adjusting, preparing, unaware that this small half-act creation would soon awaken forces the galaxy had never imagined. The hall emptied slowly, but Kale stayed. Behind, kneeling beside the prototype, he examined its joints and circuits carefully, his hands moving with quiet precision. No one saw him, and no one noticed how the small human worked in silence. The galaxy had mocked Earth's creation, yet Kale felt no fear, only focus. He whispered softly, "I will fix you, little one. I will make you strong." The prototype's eyes flickered faintly, as if understanding the words, small sparks running along its metal frame. Kale had studied ancient designs and forgotten machines, learning secrets hidden for centuries. He had found methods that the galaxy itself had banned, methods called forbidden repairs, capable of giving machines abilities no one dared to dream of. Yet Kale used them cautiously, only what was necessary, for he knew power could be dangerous. Night fell over the lab, dim lights casting shadows on walls covered with blueprints and tools. Outside, the wind howled softly through Earth's abandoned city, but Kale was unaware, fully absorbed in his work. He adjusted a tiny gear in the shoulder joint, adding a subtle mechanism no one had ever made. The prototype moved slightly, Testing the repaired joint, its motion was smoother, more natural, and for a moment, it almost seemed alive. Kale smiled faintly, but he did not relax. He knew that one small mistake could ruin everything, or worse, awaken something beyond his control. Across the galaxy, rumors began to stir, though Kale could not hear them. Whispers spoke of Earth's failed creation, and yet, in quiet corners, a few sensed something strange. Some said a faint pulse of energy had reached the outer systems, though no one could explain it. The galaxy's greatest powers remained unaware. Distracted by their own arrogance, Kale worked through the night, making tiny adjustments, repairing circuits, and adding subtle enhancements. The prototype responded to every touch, its metal frame aligning perfectly, almost imperceptibly. It began to hum with energy, a sound so soft it could be mistaken for wind. Then, Kale hesitated, staring at a small panel in the prototype's chest. His instinct screamed caution, but curiosity pushed him forward. He pressed a hidden switch, a forbidden connection, and for the first time, the prototype's core glowed brightly. A soft light filling the lab. The hum grew louder, resonating in the walls and floors. Kale stepped back, eyes wide with both fear and excitement. Something had awakened within the machine, something he could not yet understand. A strange warmth pulsed through the room, and for a moment, it felt as if the universe itself had paused to watch. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker strangely, as if reacting to the small human's work. Somewhere far away, in a deep stasis, a presence stirred, though no one knew it yet. The galaxy's most feared Empress, a being of legend and terror, had felt a faint shift in energy, her long sleep disturbed by a simple repair on a small laughed-at machine. Kale did not know the scale of what he had done. He only knew the prototype was alive in a new way, its movements precise, its systems stronger, almost intelligent. And though the galaxy had laughed at Earth, the first step toward proving their power had been taken. As he wiped sweat from his brow, Kale whispered to the machine, "Rest now. Tomorrow we do more." The prototype settled silently, its glowing core dimming to a steady light, but Kale could feel it waiting, anticipating, ready. The galaxy might not notice yet, but something far greater was beginning to awaken, and in the darkness of space, far beyond Earth, a presence shifted, eyes opening slowly, sensing the small spark of energy, unseen by all. The galaxy's deadliest force had just begun to stir, unaware that a human from a tiny planet had touched her fate. The next morning, Kale returned to the lab with quiet determination. He knew the prototype had changed overnight, its core humming softly, almost like a heartbeat. Today, he would test it fully, unaware that the galaxy itself was watching. He approached the machine carefully, hands steady. "Today we see how strong you can be," he whispered, adjusting the joints, checking the circuits. Kale activated the prototype, and immediately, its eyes glowed brighter, scanning the room with an intelligence no one had expected. Outside the lab, a ripple of energy spread silently across the stars, unnoticed by most, but far away. In her hidden chamber, the galaxy's most feared Empress stirred, her eyes, cold and sharp, flickered open, sensing the small pulse of life that had reached her. For centuries, she had slept, dreaming of conquest and fear. But now, something touched her slumber. Back in the lab, the prototype moved, with purpose, raising its small metal arm, as if drawn by an invisible force. It extended forward, and Kale realized with a start that it was trying to reach something beyond Earth. He felt a chill, sensing that the machine was awakening powers far greater than he had imagined across the galaxy. Alarms went unnoticed in distant empires. Whispers spread. In secret councils, something is stirring near the outer rim. A voice said quietly, "It feels alive, and it is not human." Yet no one could guess that the spark had begun on a tiny laughed-at world, in the hands of a single human. Kale watched as the prototype's light grew, filling the lab with a soft glow. Then it moved toward the holographic star map, and its hand passed through a projection, touching a distant point, the energy linking across space. A silent tremor ran through the galaxy, like a heartbeat suddenly racing after centuries of sleep. The Empress stirred fully, rising from her stasis, her presence a shadow of power and fear. She opened her eyes and felt a pull, small but undeniable, toward the energy, toward the human creation. She did not understand why, but instinct demanded attention. Her long sleep was broken by the smallest action on a distant planet. Kale did not notice the vastness of what had happened. He only knew the prototype was reacting, its body glowing, its senses active, almost alive in thought. For the first time, it seemed aware of more than the lab, aware of something far beyond, something ancient and powerful. Then, without warning, the prototype's hand trembled and reached toward the holographic projection, and in a flash, a beam of light connected with the distant star system where the Empress rested. The energy surged like a river, reaching across light years, and for a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The Empress's eyes widened, her senses alive. "Who dares touch me?" she whispered, though no one spoke. The small spark from Earth's prototype had awakened her fully, her centuries of sleep now broken by a simple, human repair. Kale watched, fascinated and unaware, as the galaxy's deadliest being stirred. The prototype paused, glowing brightly, waiting, as if aware it had done something incredible. Kale's heart raced, sensing the change. I did not know this would happen," he muttered, but deep inside, he knew their small, laughed-at creation had already begun to rewrite the galaxy's history. Far beyond Earth, the Empress rose, powerful and silent, sensing the human in the prototype, and knowing that the smallest touch had shifted her fate forever. And in the lab, Kale did not yet understand the danger, nor the wonder. He only knew one thing: something extraordinary had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy held its breath, though no one knew why. The Empress had fully awakened, her senses sharp, her mind alive with centuries of power. Yet something about the small energy from Earth puzzled her. She felt curiosity, a feeling rare and dangerous, creeping through her thoughts. Kale worked quietly in the lab. Unaware of the storm he had awakened, he adjusted the prototype, checking its systems, feeling pride and fear at the same time. Its core pulsed softly, almost as if it understood the danger approaching. Then, the light in the lab shifted, a ripple of energy filling the room. The Empress had arrived in a distant projection, visible only to the prototype, her presence commanding and terrifying. The air seemed heavier, as if the universe itself recognized her power. She examined the human first, Kale standing small, unarmed, yet fearless in front of her. Most beings would, half cowed, but Kale only stared at her with quiet resolve. His eyes showed no fear, only curiosity and determination. His hands trembled slightly, but he did not run. The Empress's gaze turned to the prototype. Her eyes widened slightly as she recognized the work, a creation laughed at by the galaxy. Yet it was this small, fragile machine that had touched her, awakened her, and connected with her energy. A spark of respect flickered, something the galaxy had not seen from her in centuries. "Who are you?" Her voice echoed in Kale's mind, though no sound reached his ears. I am Kale, from Earth," he whispered, unsure if speaking aloud mattered. "I repaired it. I only wanted to make it better." The Empress paused, sensing his honesty, sensing something different about this human. The prototype moved between them, glowing steadily, its body small but proud. It seemed to protect Kale, as if it understood the danger and the choice before them. The Empress studied it, her mind racing. She had the power to destroy this human, to erase the prototype, to crush Earth. And yet, something made her hesitate. Centuries of fear, conquest, and control weighed on her, but she had never met one so small, so courageous. Most beings would beg, would hide, would run, she thought, watching Kale. Yet he does not fear me and his creation. It dared touch me. Her curiosity grew, stronger than her instinct to destroy. Kale felt a strange warmth, as if the Empress's attention was not anger, but consideration. He whispered to the prototype, "Stay calm. We can do this." The machine's lights pulsed, almost like a heartbeat, responding to his words. And the Empress noticed a new thought forming in her mind. For the first time, she considered a new path, one she had not imagined for centuries. One small human, one laughed-at creation, had shifted the balance of power. The galaxy might have mocked them, but now the choice rested with her. Will she destroy, ignore, or trust? The Empress's eyes softened slightly. Almost imperceptibly, she extended a projection toward the prototype, touching it with her energy, a test of its strength and intentions. The machine held steady, glowing confidently, and the Empress realized something shocking. It did not fear her, it respected her, and in return, It had awakened her curiosity. Kale swallowed, heart racing. Sensing that the Empress had chosen, he did not yet know the consequences. But he knew one thing: Earth's smallest creation had earned a chance to survive, and perhaps even to rise in the galaxy. The Empress stepped back, considering, watching. Her centuries of power now balanced against a single human's courage. The galaxy's laughter was long forgotten, replaced by a tense silence that stretched across the stars. A new story was beginning, one that no one had predicted, and in the quiet at the lab, Kale whispered, "We did it. We survived." The prototype glowed brighter, almost proudly, and far away. The Empress made a choice that would change everything. The galaxy had never been so silent. Not even the distant stars seemed to shine as brightly as before. The Empress had made her choice, her presence radiating across the void, and Kale felt the weight of it in the lab. She looked at the human and the prototype, her eyes sharp yet thoughtful. "You dared touch me," she whispered, her voice echoing in the prototype's core. "And now, you hold my attention." Kale stood still, unsure whether this meant danger or opportunity. The prototype hummed softly, its glowing lights reflecting Kale's excitement and fear. He had repaired it, strengthened it, but he never imagined it would earn the respect of the galaxy's most feared Empress. She moved closer, her projection filling the lab with energy, yet there was no threat, only consideration. "You are small, fragile, and underestimated," the Empress said, her tone slow, deliberate, "yet you have shown courage, cleverness, and loyalty." The words were almost unheard across the galaxy, but Kale felt them like a wave washing over him. He realized that Earth's laughter had turned into attention, respect, and even admiration. Kale swallowed, finally finding his voice. "I only wanted to repair what was broken, to make it better," he said. "I did not mean to awaken you." The Empress studied him carefully, sensing the truth in his words, and the prototype responded with a steady glow, almost proudly. The Empress nodded slowly, the faintest smile touching her features. "Most beings beg, hide, or flee before me," she said, "but you showed no fear, and your creation dared to reach me." Her words carried centuries of power and judgment, yet they were tempered with curiosity and respect. With a sweep of her energy, she extended her power across the galaxy, sending a pulse that touched distant empires. "Let it be known," she declared, "Earth is no longer to be mocked. Its small creations are to be respected." The words echoed silently across the stars, yet every system would feel their weight in time. Kale felt a warmth in his chest, knowing that the galaxy had changed because of him and his prototype. For the first time, Earth's creations were seen as clever, capable, and worthy. The laughter of the past faded, replaced by whispers of wonder and cautious respect. The prototype moved beside Kale, standing taller, its lights brighter, almost proudly. It had survived, it had learned, and it had awakened, a force that the galaxy feared, yet could not control. Kale reached out, touching the small machine, and whispered, "We did it." Together, the Empress's gaze lingered on them a moment longer. Then she began to withdraw, returning to her hidden realm. But before leaving, she left a faint energy link, a promise and a warning: grow strong, human, grow clever. For the galaxy is watching, and the next challenge will be greater than this one. Kale watched her disappear, knowing that this was only the beginning. The prototype's hum filled the lab, a sound of life, intelligence, and potential. Together, they had survived the galaxy's laughter, and together, they would face the future, no matter how vast or dangerous. Outside Earth, stars twinkled in silence. But the galaxy had shifted, a new respect for humans quietly spreading. Kale looked at the prototype, smiling. "They laughed at us, but now, we have begun something greater." The machine glowed brighter, as if agreeing, ready for the adventures to come. And so, from a tiny laughed-at world, a new force began to rise. One small human, one repaired prototype, had awakened the galaxy's most feared Empress, and with it, a story of courage, cleverness, and hope that would echo across the stars for centuries. The galaxy had laughed, but now, a new era had begun.